on certain topics. I do have a few questions that have been submitted already, and then once we get through these questions, I'll open it up to the audience and I'll come around and pass around the microphone.
Some really good ones.
Yeah, I think of some great ones. Ones that'll stump them.
You know, it's the end of the conference. Low ball it.
Low hanging fruit. Okay. Low hanging fruit. Okay, so the first question submitted by Anonymous. How do you deal with a team member or client that has so totally grounded and shielded themselves that they have shut down? Okay.
I don't understand the question.
Okay. How do you deal with a team member or client that is so totally grounded and shielded themselves that they've shut down?
Like you're not experiencing others.
I guess they've grounded and shielded themselves so much they're not open to the investigation.
Well, I don't do investigations except with other groups as a contractor per se or a guest for the most part. So as far as the investigation part, I think I'm working with this to deal with that part. Sorry about that. But what I do is with people, and especially if they want to, I get a lot of clients by students that from their own life experiences, they've really closed off and now they want to open up. And you work gently and come up with ideas with them that fit them personally. Sometimes helping to read them a little bit and getting animals, past lives, whatever that they relate to. It's helped with several students. A connection that helps them open up. And also helping to work with them where they feel safe. So they know that doing so, opening, isn't going to be a threat.
I think if it's a team member, there's plenty of work to do. You teach them how to fold cables correctly or something like that. If it was a client, though, the client probably wouldn't be a client for much longer because they're not going to want to listen to what you're going to say. So really, it sounds to me that the problem is really a solution at the same time.
And there's really a position for everybody as a group. I mean, I can probably have a demon scratch across my back and I'd be like, oh, a nail probably fell or something, I don't know. But, I have my part. I found my niche and what I'm fascinated with. So I focus my attention on that sort of aspect of the investigation rather than where I might not be providing this, more of a sensitive or openness to it.
And I think there might be a little bit of confusion in grounding and shielding because I consider when I go on an investigation or throughout my life, whatever I'm doing, I'm grounded, and hopefully I am. I'm grounded and I'm shielded, but that doesn't mean I'm not open to what's happening or allowing spirits to come through or allowing experiences. I think there's a difference. It's almost like, having something with you that you feel like, well, it's okay. I know that if I need to pull this out, I'll be fine. I feel confident in that. To me, that's more shielding. Shielding isn't closing off the world of spirits to you. It's building a protection in yourself so that you don't feel vulnerable to outside influences. Outside influences that are going to be disturbing to you. Okay, so if you are so grounded and shielded that you can't have an experience, I think it's not grounding and shielding. I think it's closing. And it might be something personally going on with that individual that has nothing to do with their ability or inability to ground and shield. That's just my
I agree, that's why I was confused.
Yeah,
They're two different things.
And these are tools you use to begin opening up to.
right.
That's okay, I know.
Amen.
I was going to say, this kind of, I think what they're trying is how those who are in teams, how would you deal with a team member that's maybe not wanting to hear anything, or how would you handle the client?
Yeah, why would it be as a team?
For us, because the question was twofold, is if there's someone in your team that's not, that they're not picking up anything or don't want to pick up anything because they've shielded or not be the sensitive on the team if you are not the sensitive on the team. And I would want to work with the person, find out why. If I knew it was because they did that, then I would help them understand what they really should be trying to do versus what they succeeded in doing. And if it's from the client side, I can't fix your car unless you fix my garage. So it's like, Sean, will you fix my car? Did you bring it? No.
I don't think they would call it team. Anybody else want to add to that? Okay.
I have a question that takes on that. What if you have, it's kind of twofold. We go do an assessment to decide whether it's worth an investigation, but the findings are that the mom and the son are sensitive. They're going to experience this wherever they go. Their house is not haunted. The son's okay with it. The mom is freaking out, but yet she tells you it's been in her family. So, and this is a true story. Now we have to talk to these people. And we've never had this before where we have to tell them, there's nothing in your house, it's you. And take it another step. What do we say to them to help them to shut the door, close down, so they're not experiencing these things?
What you're describing is very, very similar to, if not exactly, the case with RSPK, recurrent spontaneous synchronicity, so poltergeist agent. One of the things that in parapsychology we like to do in dealing with that sort of situation with that kind of client is give them constructive ways to manifest their PK. Because if you really believe that you're doing the investigation, you really believe that it's their ability or their abilities, latent abilities, subconscious abilities that are really creating the issue, you need to get them to acknowledge that fact first, and then you need to give them creative outlets. Usually in those kinds of cases, it's because it's creating a stress. It's creating a lot of stress, or the stress is actually creating the situation itself. So you have to diffuse what's created the situation to begin with. So in approaching that kind of situation, if they really aren't going to listen to you, you get them in touch with their clergy, or you get them in touch with a counselor who can give them the tools to actually work through that process. That's not your responsibility as a paranormal investigator. You can actually end up doing more damage for the client if you try to take that on yourself. But having said that, you can give them creative outlets. There are a number of things, little psychic games, the little PK things that we were doing on Friday night in the class that I was giving. Those are little things that give people empowerment over the situation that's happening.
Do you believe that they just created themselves, or do you believe that there's any other influences and energies or agents?
Well, in the case that Jill is citing, it would be that. She's saying, okay, so what if we go into this situation and it's a twofold situation where you have the mom and you have the son, and the son is okay with it, and mom isn't. Obviously, she's the one that you need to deal with both of them, but you want to deal with her in a very different way, letting them know that this actually is natural. It doesn't feel like it, but it is natural. And if they're still resistant, then that's when you go the route of having how they're defining the situation. If they define it in a religious or spiritual way, you get them into their clergy to talk to somebody. If not,
Can we give them help or reading material on something on grounding and shielding? Would that help them?
I would say absolutely. Do you have anything you want to add?
No, actually, perfect. Yeah, yes.
I think, well, and Tasha?
Yeah, I don't have anything to add.
Well, I think if they're feeling ungrounded, certainly grounding, shielding, but again, if they're sensitive, they're probably going to pick those things up the rest of their life. I I mean, I consider myself grounded and shielded right now, but I'm still picking things up, but it's not, it doesn't overwhelm me. It's not overwhelming me or interfering with me at this moment. So I think working with them to be able to understand that their ability is natural, it's not something to be frightened of. I think if you can work with them on that, that's the most important thing, because then the issues around the house will probably most likely resolve if it's created by them.
I mean, because we're really thorough when we go in, and everything is her and her son's experiences. And they do have stress, their family was all around them, they didn't want anybody to know he was coming. I mean, and you get the feeling, you know when somebody's not around.
Right.
And I don't think she's grounded, I don't. So this helps me tremendously.
And being at, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And in knowing how to approach it.
And asking the person, you know, we're going to have to leave today. We can't stay here with you. We can't be on call to you 24 hours a day, although we'd love to, but we can't. What do you want from our visit today? What would be the greatest outcome that could possibly happen by the time we leave today?
She's already answered that.
Great.
Make it stop.
Make it stop. Then, Betty, that's her name. I'm just kidding. Betty's always